Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shields, dead slayers, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome, and let's go to Iraq. Yes, that's right. I'm doing a video that has nothing to do with Donald Trump and the United States election, or not yet, because Donald Trump will probably inherit this. Well, he will inherit this, and unfortunately, it's some bad news. And the election cycle has buried the fact that the Iraqi offensive on the city of Mosul that's been occupied by ISIS for several years now. The Iraqi offensive there is bogged down. And as a matter of fact, today is the 1 month anniversary of the beginning of this offensive in October 17th is when it started. And right now they only have Iraqi special forces and an Iraqi armored division inside the city. And they're keeping the Shia militia and the Peshmerga, the Kurds, out of the city fighting, both to appease Turkey and to make sure there isn't any ethnic infighting. But one senior Kurdish official said that, quote, "At first I was optimistic that we might capture Mosul in 2 to 3 weeks, but now I believe it will take months," unquote. So now we can look forward to a prolonged siege, in which case we're going to see the destruction of the city. It's going to probably end up looking much like Aleppo. We're going to see heavy civilian casualties because unlike a lot of these areas, Mosul still has a large civilian population that is still there, normally 1.5 million civilians. And then if it bogs down, we could speculate that there might be Turkish intervention, because if they don't think the Iraqis are doing a quick enough job taking care of taking back Mosul, then they'll step in to do it. But one of the reasons why I say they're bogged down is because the Iraqis, for one, are taking heavy casualties. The Iraqi official said in one day that there were 37 dead and 70 wounded, so those are substantial casualties to be taking day in and day out. But the main reason I say they're bogged down is because one article, my eyeballs popped out, because apparently they've amassed 100,000 troops. Military police forces, the Kurdish Peshmerga, the Shia militias, and then the Iraqi military, and then of course special forces, United States special forces and United States support, and then U.S. airstrikes. But with 100,000 troops, they're bogged down in Mosul for a month. And the figures I've seen are that anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000 fighters, ISIS fighters, are inside Mosul. And most of them are local Iraqis, apparently, not as many foreign fighters. They're all more involved in Syria. So essentially, once again, this Sunni insurgency that's turned into ISIS there, and they've taken over the city. And so there we have it. I did a video saying that after 10 years on the American tit and all this training and all this money, the Iraqi army still sucks. And I stand by that, even though a couple Iraqis apparently had their feathers ruffled by my saying that. But after 10 years, but you know, it's not all the blame. Certainly doesn't go on the Iraqis. I want to make that clear. The fucked up way the Americans approached reconstituting the Iraqi army has a lot to do with what's going on there, and that's something I've gone into in detail in other videos. But the fact that 100,000 troops are bogged down taking back a city from 7 to 8,000. Of course, I know it's urban fighting, and I know there's booby traps and there's suicide bombers and snipers and everything else. And so this could be a long, grueling campaign. But once again, shows that after all American efforts, Iraqi forces still need Americans to handle much of the battlefield logistics and support, and won't be able to take over their own country anytime in the future, even when they do get rid of ISIS. But of course, then we'll have once they get rid of ISIS, then we're going to see the country plunge back into sectarian violence. So we'll just replace one war with another. That's one of the beautiful things about the Middle East. I'm Useful Idiot. Don't you be one too.